Pick My Brain is a thoroughly eviscerated blues trudge that has our angel, Isabel Sullenberger, sounding like a female Marlon Brando, inviting us to come scratch the sexiest scab ever.
Hey, everybody out there, welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, that's John, and it is time to get into some music. John is going to be offering up a song for me to go off and listen to, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to chop it up as we are wont to do here on the channel. But in order to get the ball rolling, John, what are we working with?
Okay, we're going back to a band we visited previously, not too far in the distant past, Bardo Pond.
Oh, going back to the pond, are we? All right.
Great
Um,
name.
Yeah, I've really man, Yellow Turban was the last one we did by them, and I remember being really intrigued by their very distinct sound on that track. Lots to wrap your head around on that one. All that thick atmosphere and sound. So yeah, naturally I'm intrigued to hear another offering by these guys and what it may sound like, especially held up against my experience listening to Yellow Turban. So what's the track du jour?
Pick My Brain.
Pick My Brain. All right. Well, I'll go off and listen to it, and then I'll come back and pick your brain, hopefully to learn more about the track. So let me skedaddle, give this thing a go, and I will come back and we'll chat it up, man. Mm, mm. Yeah, this is really intriguing. There's like a lot of dissonance with this interesting electric guitar. It's got all of this fuzz and kind of warbling sound to it. It sounds out of focus, and it's an interesting juxtaposition to this meandering acoustic guitar that's just along with the beat for a lot of it has just been like moving along in spite of the calamitous nature of the electric guitar. The the title is definitely going to be influencing my judgment on this one and only listen at this point. But it's almost like two sides of the brain kind of I don't know if at war with one another is a proper term. I might be overstating it, but just sort of this weird dynamic between two parts of the brain, maybe, that's happening simultaneously, a lot like the music is. Uh, Also, the affected voice is a really interesting touch too. I can't make out anything that he's saying, but it's kind of like maybe not even the point; it's the effect of it, or um, what does that symbolize? Um, it doesn't sound the same thus far as the other track. I believe it's Yellow Turban that we did, but there is this. They're similar in that they both have this like thick sound to them, like heavy boots trudging through like mud or like sloppy heavy snow that I think kind of complements the mood that I'm getting from this song in general. So yeah, very interesting, dissonance to some of it, and some actually like this slow clarity to other parts, i.e., the acoustic guitar. But yeah, very interesting sound they've got so far. About 2 minutes into this, I'd like to see how it progresses. I could see this one being like a grower in that like the sound will become louder. I would imagine at points, especially with that title and this idea that I have in my head for what it might mean. But yeah, let's press on and see what we get from here on out. Pick my brain. God, this electric guitar is like really interesting. It's growing on me. It's getting thicker. Drums. Wow, that was really it's one listen. I would love to, and I'm sure I will go and listen to this again. It's like it did grow and get louder and more manic, which is kind of what I was expecting earlier, as I mentioned. And I think like, and then there like they hit the 6 minute mark, and it was like this sort of like smoke clearing moment, like the dust was settling or something, you know what I mean? And it felt like the musical equivalent to like a manic episode or some sort of psychotic episode, um because there was all of this confusion and muddled sound, and it got louder, and it's so easy to hear that, and again, look at the title and then be sort of like interpret this to be just a giant symbol for some sort of psychotic episode of some sort. And then there at the end is kind of when, like, I don't know if clarity is maybe the best term, but like when things kind of calm down a bit, maybe when the medicine sets in, or um, when it subsides, whatever it is that's kind of affecting or happening to the brain there. And if any of that is right, any of that kind of like inference is right, then I think that's a really, I mean, regardless, I think it sounded really neat and different, and I liked um, the way it moved throughout. But if the inference that I mentioned is correct, then that's even cooler because it does a really good job of illustrating that kind of situation through music. Um, so yeah, I found this to be. I'll say this. I enjoyed it. I just don't know how much, and I'll give it more listens, and even I'm sure John's perhaps like some of the information that he has an explanation of it will provide a bit more clarity as well. Which after listening to a song like this, it begs for clarity when you think of how muddled it is, and all the different sounds and the thickness of the sounds. Um, but I mean that electric guitar was fabulous. The drums were really great. I wish that they were a little bit clearer in the mix, but I understand from like an artistic standpoint why maybe they weren't, especially again if my suppositions about the meaning of the song or what it's trying to symbolize are correct. Um, then I understand that sort of like artistic license or choice that they made. But yeah, I would want to. I just one listen to one listen. I think I liked. I don't think I'm fairly certain I liked the last track better, but this is still, you can't deny that it's got some intrigue to it. And I personally am interested to learn more about it and what their aim was with this one, and to see if my assumptions are in anywhere close to what they were going for. And if so, then kudos to them because I think it sounds awesome if that's what they were aiming for. But yeah, let's get back to John and learn more about this very intriguing track that we just listened to.
Arnold Muren, he's back. So, you had listened to Pick My Brain, Bardo Pond.
Well, so this is interesting because this is one of the, I don't know if this is fair or not, but oftentimes you go into a song, you'll look at the title, and then that title will start to make your brain start to do things and draw lines and correlations and try to make sense of a song on your first go. And this is a classic example of that. And I'll get into that kind of as I go through my notes here. So once I hit play, I'm, you know, hit by this like buzzing, distorted, dissonant electric guitar sound that is quickly accompanied by this acoustic guitar that's kind of meandering through chords. And by the 36-second mark, the beat drops, kind of trudging along slowly, like weighted boots through mud. And already I'm starting to feel the similarities. Again, not the same, but similarities in the sound. Sort of my expectations were met based off having listened to that one song and now listening to this. There's this thick, noise forward atmosphere that both of them, that's sort of their common denominator between the two songs. So I was happy that they continued to run with this sound that they had, or this sort of niche sound that they had carved out for themselves, because it did meet my expectations. We also get this wildly affected vocal track, that, and I can't make out fucking lyrics to save my life, except a little bit later I catch
Yeah,
one little bit.
that's your problem. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
noticed
yeah, that's
before.
on me. I'm sure. I'm sure. I need to go see a ear, nose, and throat doctor and get that shit sorted so I can make
Luckily, I'm
it.
an expert in picking up, lyrics, so no problem. Rest assured.
I've come to the right place, have I? Great. You just saved me a copay on an ear, nose, and throat doctor, so I appreciate it. So the while the two songs that we've listened to by them don't sound the same, this track has this aura that is akin to the aura that Yellow Turban had, with all the thick atmospheric kind of, soundscape that they've built here. It's sludge psychedelia, is a good way to put it, I think. As the song takes shape and progresses, I'm finding myself most drawn to this warped bending and whining of the electric guitar. It gives this song kind of personality, and I think of all the instruments, kind of symbolizes or embodies my supposed meaning of it, or what it's trying to illustrate, if that makes sense. And I'll expand on that as we go through. But at first, I was like, ah, because it was so dissonant. But then as you listen to it, it kind of grows on you, like a virus. I actually really did enjoy it. Um, so at the 2:18 mark, I actually catch some of the lyrics for the first and, spoiler alert, only fucking time in this whole song. And it is, of course, the title, when he kind of like puts out this plaintive whining kind of, pick my brain, warped delivery. But there, it is the closest thing to clarity you're going to get as it relates to the vocal. So I caught that. Then the electric guitar continues just kind of this scratch and claw kind of approach throughout the track. And it's around the 3 minute marker and beyond that it really begins to test the limits of its dissonance. It feels like an auditory mechanism meant to symbolize mental anguish or instability due to its skittish and erratic nature. So again, this pick my brain, like I'm this idea that the narrator is um afflicted mentally in some way, shape, or form is illustrated by the soundscape that they've created. And that soundscape is, the I guess, the all-star in the lineup is really this electric guitar that kind of carries that motif, and really helps illustrate all of it well. I could be totally wrong. It could be nothing about mental health or mental episodes or anything like that, but this is all what I'm getting on my first listen and the lines that I'm drawing in my own head. So I tried, but was not always successful at parsing through the thick layers of sound to hone in on the drums. Now, again, this is only my first listen, and this song begs multiple listens to at least give it the benefit of any doubt you might have. You could listen to this song 5 times and not enjoy it, and that's okay. But I don't think you should give up on it after one listen and not knowing how you feel. I think that if anything, that is sort of what warrants or underscores the importance of giving it subsequent listens. So I will go back and listen to this some more, but at certain points throughout the song, I could make out some really great drum rolls and flourishes, but they had to be sought out almost, to pick up on those. Uh, and this was particularly evident around the 4 minute mark and kind of beyond, up until like 4 to 6 minutes, we'll say, where things really kind of kick off, and get turbulent and louder. And the guitar continues this kind of anguish style of playing, which seems to really come to a head around the 4:30 mark. And again, beyond up until about 6 minutes, only illustrates how everything is kind of kicking off in this little 2 minute pocket between 4 and 6 minutes. And then things pull back and die down a bit as the remaining 43 seconds is kind of devoted to slowly reining things in while the music also fades out. And it's a slow burn for a fade out. I mean, you're usually like 15-second fade out is kind of what you get. This is 2, 3 times that length almost. Which is interesting because I think this is also a mechanism. It's kind of like this, like the smoke clearing or the dust settling after whatever the fuck mental episode was that occurred before it, right? So it's sort of like the come down off of that. And I loved this because I loved how every part made sense in the grand scheme of things. Once you get to the end, you can really put things together with the clearest possible mind. And again, and that's after one listen. When this, I mentioned warrants multiple, but after one, you can already start to, I think, kind of piece together the story they're trying to tell, which is also impressive because I caught one lyric out of the whole thing. Now, maybe all the lyrics I didn't catch paint a completely different picture that nullifies all my presupposed, inferences and thoughts about this and what it could be. But this is the vibe that I'm getting off this sole listen that I've given the track. It was strange but entertaining and an interesting listen. That to me really did convey through music some kind of emotional or mental turmoil or possibly even illness. I'm not sure if that was its intent, and perhaps my judgment is wrongly influenced by the song title. Nonetheless, this is my impression of the song, and it is certainly one that will require further listens. But I could say that I enjoyed it, despite not being the most neatly packaged product. And if anything about what I just said, my supposed, thoughts on that, like the meaning of the song or whatever, is right, then I don't want it to be a pretty packaged little pop song. You know what I mean? That's not what this is meant to be, which is great. There's room in the world for all of these things. Um, I think it's pretty evident that it wasn't their aim to be that anyway, right? So, um, please tell me more about this tune and this track, John. It really was interesting. I'm at this point, this gray area where like I'm invested in the song. I'm interested to learn more about it, and I will listen to it again. But I don't know how much I like it. So I think more listens and some background information will probably help solidify my fondness, which I'm inclined to say will exist with more info and if I put things together and listen to it a couple more times. But yeah, I mean it's got my attention, that's for sure. I don't think I liked it as much as Yellow Turban, but I do think I like the song. It's kind of one of those, if that makes sense. So please tell me more. Tell me more.
No, fair enough. And I think this is a really good, this is like a Rorschach test that shows the difference in the way your brain works and my brain works. Um, okay, so I picked this song because it was different sound to
Mm,
Yellow Turban. Same sort of approach, but
yeah.
certainly this sort of more loose, um, bluesy almost.
Yes, yes. Behind all of that, what you do
Yeah.
with the bass and the acoustic guitar, I can pick up some blues-esque things. But man, did they start to color outside the lines after that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's no John Lee Hooker there, I'll tell you. But yeah. So it is. It's really. This is a really good album, and I've got bits and pieces on it. So as you said, we've already discussed Bardo Pond in the previous episode, Yellow Turban. I'll put the link in down below. You can go and look at that for all the background, the band, etc. Um, just to recap personnel on this: Isabel Sollenberger, flute, vocals. This is for the album. The Gibbon brothers, Michael and John on guitars and vocals, Clint Takeda on bass, and Joe Culver, drums and vocals. So this is from their third album. The numbers don't really mean so much when we talk about Bardo Palmer because they put out other stuff as well. And so there's lots of shit going on. And then you try and pick through and say which ones are their proper studio albums because it's really difficult. And they have like a volume nine, I think's out of this other stuff they put in between albums, which are real albums as well, but they just call them volume one, volume two, etc. I don't know. It's just okay. So it's kind of their third album. It was released in October 1997. Um, it's an interesting one because the first couple of albums, and obviously Yellow Turbans off their second one, ish. They really concentrate on getting this sort of texture. Um, and you could say it's style over, substance to an extent, but I mean, the whole thing they're going for is about their style. And I think this album, they're starting to really look at structures of songs a bit more. So I think this is a bit more developed, the whole album, as opposed to the last one. So I've got some really interesting, and there's bugger all about it on the internet. But I
Great.
found some articles and some reviews and some opinions, and nobody knows about what this song is or what it means. But I think it's so obtuse and opaque. Even though there's words and lyrics, you haven't got a chance of understanding them really, unless you're off your tits like they were. So it's almost really to all extent purposes, it is an instrumental, and from there you paint your own pictures, and go on this whatever journey it takes you on. So yeah, all music said of the album. I haven't got Laps on vinyl. It's hard to get, and it's lots of money. And I haven't even seen it for sale yet. When it is for sale, I will get it, but I haven't got it. So that's a different Bardo Pond album. But anyway, so all music said of the album Laps. The achievement of Laps is that for the first time, it's possible not to merely get lost in Bardo Pond's music, but to let it actually lead you somewhere as well. Certainly a trip worth taking. So they're sort of inferring that there's more development to the song. The Opus website called it a dirty album, and wonderfully so at that. Guitars are so thoroughly caked in distortion that Sabbath and the Valentines seem like they've been playing cotton gins all these years in comparison. Bardo Pond doesn't just evoke heavy rock or shoegaze sensations, though. They do something in between and much better. Pick My Brain is a thoroughly eviscerated blues trudge that has our angel, Isabel Sullenberger, sounding like a female Marlon Brando, inviting us to come scratch the sexiest scab ever. So that was the woman singing there in that
Okay.
song. But
Interesting.
you wouldn't know it. It's just like
No,
obviously
no, it's so
it's
affected that
shit
I don't even
through
know
it.
what the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah,
we're singing.
exactly. But I love it, the idea it's some feeling. Makes sense when they say it. Chicago Reader said the album was a blazing return to earth. The group still works up open-ended exploratory jams whose contours gradually coalesce out of a haze of thick, distorted tones generated by bassist Clint Takeda and brother guitarist John and Michael Gibbons. But now these ethereal elements are tethered by riffs that recall the sludgy downer rock of early Dinosaur Jr. and Iron Man era Black Sabbath,
Mm,
where drummer Joe Culver used to sound like he was lost in the morass. His pommeling, cymbal heavy attack now pushes the rest of the band through it. Um, so I think it's an interesting write up. And the Austin Chronicle wrote Bardo Pond's brand of drug rock, thick as a hot kettle full of snot, is more explorative than experimental. There aren't any shocking changes or mechanical innovations here, just a mesmerizingly lolling sea of dissonant sounds trudging along around mid-tempo to a final exhausted end. This
mhm,
is not rock of violent addiction or somber coming down. It evokes more a constant state of mind, a perpetual buzz that makes everything just a little bit fuzzy around the edges.
mhm.
So the lyrics live around the lake, go in trance to cure. Your own drink is the best. Kicking out the house. Pick my brain a few times. Your own drink is the best. Ancient veins drink their own. The smell is left. together the same. Pick my brain a few times. Live around the lake, go in trance to cure. Own drink is the best, kicking out the house. Pick my brain. Ancient veins drink their own. The smell is left together the same. Ancient veins drink their own. Your own drink is the best. The smell is left. Now,
So,
when I listen to this, I just picture a scene rather than a story. And I totally get you're quite, I mean, you enjoy a good narrative, so I totally understand that it would like try to make sense to you as this thing going on. And I think definitely there is someone in a state of fuck it upness. I don't know if it
yeah,
is a self inflicted chemical fuck it upness or whether it is, generic, genetic or whatever. But
right.
I picture a really fucked up sort of trailer that's really sort of almost, rusty and weeds growing up around it. And when you open the door, you're greeted by a thick wall of smoke from about 30 joss sticks. And it's a sort of trailer that inside you've got that flypaper hanging down from the ceiling and it's just full of flies all stuck to it. It's that kind of atmosphere. That's what I picture when I listen to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some water and reeds. I don't know why, but I do. Anyway, I found a really nice article. This is on a website called The Active Listener. And this is written by a guy called Jason Simpson. Some of his stuff is a bit, but there's some interesting things he writes here. Laps is the third long player from Psychedelphia veterans Bardo Pond. That's a new word he's made up, which is quite cool. Acting as a missing link between first wave shoegaze guitar wrangle and all the Titanic sludge drone that would follow in its wake. Laps finds our heroes at a crossroads, a turning point. It's what you might call a pivotal record. It was their first for indie behemoth Matador, and their last working in a professional studio. The band would proceed to build their own Lima House studios and work the home recording ethic into their sound as well as their songwriting. They worked in this album with producer stroke engineer Jason Cox at Cycle Sound in Philadelphia, which doubled as a motorcycle repair shop. Some of the grit and motor oil worked its way into the record. Like guitarist Mike Gibbons said in an interview for the Potomac Terrascope, really good and warm, but with a hard, dirty edge to it. Some members of the band had felt the previous record, the sprawling double LP, Aminata, which is Yellow Turban came from, was selling out. It was too clean and commercial. Yellow Turban was too
Yeah,
clean. You'll
right. Yeah.
remember that. And they took dubious delight in the recording process being described as sick. In the same Terrascope article, journalist Tony Dale describes this album. Lapse seems to be the point where you had pushed your instruments so far that they broke up into clouds of abstract stellar matter, backscatter radio transmissions of pure fuzz. In fact, the record sounds like it was picked up by a radio telescope and recorded onto a giant, slow-moving reel to reels for later analysis, and yet it's inherently melodic.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so he continues to write. Lap sounds fresh and modern and still utterly unique even now. He's writing sort of 15 years after, yeah, after it was released. It nods its head to the classic psychedelia of the 60s. One of the guys from Terrascope compared them to Jefferson Airplane, but filtered through Jesus and Mary Chains, drained of fuzz
Hmm.
pedals and wearing a snare. This music is big and bold, passionate, not for lackluster heroin addicts. These are bona fide mystics, the Gimmer brothers' guitars reaching for the heavens, with Isabel Sullenbergen acting as a very capable sorceress. It's not all scree, however. Bardo Pond have always had an element of blues boogie shuffle to their sound, here manifested as Pick My Brain, which sounds like Seamus by Pink Floyd, with a soaring electric guitar playing the part of a baying dog, or an experimental B-side from the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club's album Howl.
Hmm.
So there you go. That's some other people's opinions on it. So yeah, I just thought this was an interesting, slightly different, because I could give you another 20 songs that sound Yellow Turban-ish. Um,
Hmm.
their progression is by inches rather than giant leaps. So album to album, similar-ish, but just slightly different. But I just thought that this, I really like this album. The opener is a real sort of, it grabs you and sort of throttles you.
Yeah.
Um, um, it's really interesting. There we go. Tommy Gun Angel. Sorry, I was just looking up what they were called now. I can remember. There's the song after this is called Flux, which is really thick. And there's a great song on here called Green Man. And the way to describe it is if you imagine it's the sound of a 30-foot tall pagan statue being wheeled out into a clearing in the woods. But it just that keeps happening for 6 minutes. That's what it sounds like.
Uh-huh.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And it finishes with a song called Old Room, which is like 14, 15 minutes, which has a lot of sort of acoustic guitar in it, and it's quite chilled. But it develops
Yeah, yeah,
like
it builds.
moss. I mean, like moss. It's that slow. But it's great. It's great. So yeah, this is a really interesting stuff. As I say, I wanted to give you a different sound and this sort of sludgy, bluesy. There's a bit where that guitar comes back in after all the sort of mid-part nonsense, which, as you say, sounds like a breakdown. I mean, this guitar, the second guitar that's going away, I think it's in the right
Yeah,
channel.
yeah,
It sounds like someone almost scribbling and,
yeah, yeah. It's like
going a bit
grating
sort of,
sounding like, yeah.
and then towards the end when it comes back in with that bam, to me, that's a definition of oxen lowing. It just sounds
Mm.
like, if you had an oxen with a guitar, that's what they would sound like. But yeah, I really like this, obviously, but I
That's
thought
cool.
it'd be interesting and a bit challenging. So yeah,
No,
yeah.
I appreciate it. It was a fun listen. It was an interesting listen, and it was a listen that's going to underscore the need to listen to it again, which I will. So,
Cool.
yeah, great shout, man.
Well, I will wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, please do hit the like button, please. And drop some comments. Let us know what you think about this. We'd love to hear from you. If you like this particular blend of sludgy, trudgy, bluesy, woozy, whatever it is. Yeah, let us know. Anyone else who's got some insight into Bardo Pond on this track in particular, we're more than welcome to share with the class. Please do. If you haven't subscribed already, please do as well. Really appreciate everybody to support the channel. Onwards and upwards, we are moving. Just like the old fellow in up. Um, so yeah, come on in. The water's fine. Blah blah blah. That being said. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.